guys, I'm Amy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a tag for all of you. I'm going to be doing the middle grade book tag. I was tagged by April from Getting Hygge With It, and the original creator of the tag is Amanda from The Curly Reader. I will link both their channels down below, but let's get into the tag. Question number one is, what is the last middle grade book that you read? And I had to go back and check, but that was Smile by Raina Telgemeier. This is a largely autobiographical graphic novel, or, well, I guess it's not a novel, but you catch my drift, of Raina's life when she was a young girl, or young teenager, I guess you could say, when she had a really bad fall and it resulted in a really bad accident to her mouth and her teeth. And this is about how she handled that entire situation, all the different things they had to do to fix the injury that she had, and just how she felt about it at school and how her friends dealt with it. And just in general, I really enjoy these books. The first in the series is Sisters series, but the first one she published was Sisters, and it's about her relationship with her younger sister. And overall, I just really enjoy it. So the pages where it's white, that's like the current timeline, and then the pages that have this more yellow tone are back from when she was younger. And it's a really interesting, fascinating, true story that I think a lot of kids would benefit from reading. Adults too, for that matter. Question number two is, what is a middle grade book that was read to you as a child? There is a very long list of books that could fit into that category for me. My parents read to my sister and I all the time. But if I have any memories that are very vivid of being read to, it is this particular series of books when we would go on road trips and we would go camping as a family. And those were Laura Ingalls Wilder Little House on the Prairie books / series. I know these books can be a bit controversial now, but they do have a near and dear place in my heart because it was just something we did as a family, is that we read these books. So this is a copy of The Little House on the Prairie, and then these specific books were the editions that we had when I was a kid. My mom had this whole box set. So this is Little House in the Big Woods, and then By the Shores of Silver Lake. And I haven't read these books since I was a child, and it would be really interesting to do so now, but so many memories of these books being read to me, and they're warm fuzzy memories for sure. Question number three is, what was your favorite middle grade book as a child? Without a doubt, this was 100% my favorite. I didn't even have to think about it, and that was Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. I grew up in the 90s, or I was a kid in the 90s, and I think everyone was reading this book. I was obsessed with it. I read it over and over again, and I still have read it as an adult. It's been a while since I've read it as an adult, but I just dearly loved this story, and it's just one of those books that seems iconic of my childhood, if that makes any sense. So definitely Ella Enchanted, like I said, without a doubt. Question number four is, what is your favorite middle grade book as an adult? And I decided to interpret this question as a book that I read as an adult that was a middle grade read. And for that, I decided to go with The Emperor's Ostrich by Julie Berry. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. This made one of my favorite books of the year list. And this is a story in which we are following a dairymaid named Begonia who loses her cow Alfalfa. And this wonderful adventure ensues with fabulous characters and an emperor and his ostrich. And it's so endearing and sweet and fun, and I adore it so much. Matthew at Matthew Sharapa is the one that turned me on to this book, and for that I will be forever grateful because I just adore it, and I think everyone should read it. It's so fun. It would be great to read aloud to kids. I can't recommend it enough. It's not the first time that I've done so, and it is unlikely to be the last. Question number five is, who is your favorite middle grade author? And I was a bit torn, so I'm just going to mention both of them. I have to say that these were both favorites of mine when I was a child. I don't necessarily have a favorite now because I haven't read an extensive amount of middle grade books from one single person. But when I was a kid, I read a lot of Roald Dahl. I think a lot of us did. The BFG was always my favorite. And then also Gail Carson Levine. I read her books like a crazy person, all of them, any of them that I could find, and then over and over again. So those probably would be my two favorite middle grade authors, but I'm sure there's so many others that I just haven't gotten to yet, or I have read their a book of theirs, but not multiple, so don't feel like I can say that, if that makes sense. I made this overly complicated, but there you go. Roald Dahl and Gail Carson Levine. Question number 6 is, what middle grade book do you think should be required reading in school? And I thought long and hard about this because I think so many middle grade books could fit into this category because they tend to be so touching and heartwarming, but also have incredible lessons. But I decided to go with one that I've read in the last year or so, and that was Wish Tree by Katherine Applegate. This book has been very well loved from the people I've seen talk about it on BookTube, and this is the story about an oak tree named Red. And Red is a wish tree, which means once a year, people will come and put their wishes on Red. They'll attach it to the tree somehow or tie it to his branches, and he has a best friend that's a crow named Bongo, and there's a possum family and I believe a raccoon family, just a whole bunch of creatures that live in and among Red's branches, and it's just so very heartwarming. But the reason I think that this book should be taught in schools or could be taught in schools is because there is this theme of prejudice and discrimination, and Red sees this happening to a family in the neighborhood and decides that he is going to make these two children in the neighborhood be friends as best as he can. And it's just very, very sweet. So this book deals with those really big topics, but in a way that kids can digest. And there's also adversity that Red himself faces, and that's dealt with wonderfully. There's just so many incredible lessons in the backdrop of this very heartwarming, sweet, fun story that I think it's the perfect thing to be taught in schools. It also has these just gorgeous illustrations. If I could find one, let's see here. It's a possum playing dead. So that's maybe not the best example, but it's really a great story, and it's very short, and I highly recommend it. And it's another great one, obviously, to read aloud to your kids. Question number 7 is, what is your favorite middle grade book cover? And I love the physical aspects of a book, the cover, the pages, the end papers. I'm one of those people that I call myself a reader because I love to read, but I also am a book lover because I love the physical book and everything about it. And this book is one of those books that I bought it, I think, because I was so drawn to it as a physical object. And unfortunately for me, I didn't love the story as much as I loved everything else about the physical book. It's not a bad read by any means, but it is by far, in my opinion, the most beautiful middle grade book that I have on my shelves. And that book is Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin. This is the story of two sisters, Snow and Rose, who are polar opposites in looks, and their father goes missing, and they end up essentially losing all the money and wealth that they had, and they have no idea what happened to their father. They just know that he disappeared into the woods one day. And that's kind of how this story goes from there. But this book is by Emily Winfield Martin, but it's also illustrated by her. And I think this book is absolutely stunning. The foiling on it is beautiful. The naked hardback in and of itself is really pretty. I don't know if you can see the design on the spine. The end papers are beautiful, but I think the crowning glory of this book is that it is illustrated. And the aesthetic is just one that I absolutely adore. And as much as I didn't love this book, there are aspects of this book that are very sweet, and I think children would like them. Just maybe not a middle grade book for adults, if that makes sense, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and her artwork is incredible, like I said. Question number 8, and the last question of the bunch, is what is your favorite middle grade book to screen adaptation? And I've said this on my channel before, I'm not a big TV/movie person. It's just not really my thing, but I decided to go look up like lists of middle grade books that were then created into movies specifically. And upon looking at them, it became very clear what my favorite was, and that would be The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. I read this book prior to the movie coming out, excuse me. So I think I was in high school actually when I read it for the first time. Absolutely loved it. I haven't read any of the other books in the Chronicles of Narnia series, but I really adored the movie, and I just thought it was really beautiful. They were spot on as far as like the events, and they didn't really change anything. They added one scene in particular with the waterfall and the broken ice and the wolves and stuff, which I understand why they did it, because it's a movie and it needs to have some kind of excitement that maybe the book didn't have. But I just think it was a really respectful adaptation, and I really enjoyed how the actors did and just the movie in general, and I love the book as well. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. So there you have it, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Alright guys, there you have it. There are some middle grade reads and recommendations for you guys. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, if you plan on reading any of them now, or if you've read any middle grade books that you think I really should make time for. I really do enjoy reading middle grade books, especially in times like the ones that we're currently in, because middle grade books seem to be a little bit more comforting and warm, and I think a lot of us need that right now. I'm not going to tag anybody in particular because I think this tag has been around for a little while, but if you haven't done this tag yet and you would like to be tagged, I therefore tag you. Thanks again to April for tagging me. I appreciate it so much. I'm so out of the loop with things. But if you guys liked this video, please like it, and if you loved it, please subscribe. We will see you in my next video. Happy reading! Ah.